Hey everybody, welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics podcast. We're joined today with an instructor on the site, Black Belt Jason Hunt, joining us from California. How are you doing today, Jason?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And how are
Man,
you today?
I'm doing awesome. It's awesome to have you here. Everybody says you're an amazing instructor. You have some amazing products on the site, and so I'm excited to talk jiu-jitsu with you. Something I wanted to ask you about early on here, though, is you come from a judo background, right? Can you tell me how you got
Yeah.
into judo and kind of your background with that?
As a kid, my really close friend, his name's Chad Estes, his stepfather happened to be we grew up in Texas, right? It's kind of funny the place I grew up. There's a lot of good fighters that came out of where I grew up. But anyway, we had to go to judo because it was after school. We would go to the academy. We were forced to do judo, and then my mom would come and pick me up and take me home. So we didn't have a choice. So we started when we were young, and Tim Joe, Chad's mom had moved for something. She was in Japan and had met then her husband, and then Tim had moved to the small city called Amarillo, which is like 250,000 people. It's very small. So he started a judo academy, and he had the public pool, called the Dolphin Club. So we grew up there. That's what we did. We went to the pool. It was the community pool, and then we were forced to do judo. So that's kind of how it all started. It was more of like a discipline kind of thing, if I'm really honest, than for fun.
You know, I know you run a great academy out there. I don't know if you have a kids program, but it is very true that half of being a kids program instructor, there's a little bit of a babysitting element, at least for some parents who walk through the door, right?
I believe so. I think it's key, to really get the discipline, because obviously, you're in a different environment as a child, and you have somebody who's kind of yelling at you, but not really yelling at you, and kind of getting annoyed with you, but trying to get you to learn. And you kind of respect them with, oh, that's my sensei, and the kid goes home. And if you build a good relationship, like the people who I feel have such an amazing kids program, they're very good at that. Like, they're very good at connecting with the parents and the kids and making the kids feel like, oh, my sensei, my superhero,
Do you feel like you had that? You had a little bit of, do you feel like you had like hero worship?
I definitely don't have that. I don't have that at all.
No, but like when you were a kid, did you have that, like looking up to your sensei?
Oh man, I really did, because, he was old. Tim Joe was really mean to us, but also after, when we're swimming, he would play and throw us in the pool. And, he was like a father figure, kind of, because I was so close to Chad, we were like best friends. So, it was more like that, whenever we were in the academy, you had to be yes, sir, no, sir, stand up straight, have your gi tied, had your belt tied. He really instilled that OCD in us as kids. But then directly after, okay, go to the pool and play. Well, he'd be the first person to throw us in the pool. And, and if we stubbed our toe, we'd go crying to him, and he would be there. And so it was kind of an interesting role as far as how it worked out, because he was very like, oh, that's Tim Joe, and we're scared to death of him. But we go to the pool, I'm not scared to death of him anymore. It's like I want to run and jump on his back and try to get him in a headlock, and he would play. But the minute he put on his gi and we put on our gis and we went on to the mats, it was like scared to death to even move, So interesting. It was an interesting combination.
It sounds like it, especially coming from a guy named Tim Joe. I love that name.
Yeah.
But you had some success in judo. This wasn't just, a hobby. This eventually turned into you competing pretty seriously, did it not?
Yeah, I did younger. My whole judo career is we competed a lot as young kids just for fun, and I really enjoyed it. Then, as you grow up, we didn't have to be forced to go there anymore, and we didn't really like it. So I stopped for quite a while. We just stopped going because obviously, there was more exciting things to do, and we didn't feel like getting yelled at. And then I ventured off into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it was way more exciting at the time. A lot of movements, and
like what time period is this, by the way? Like what year roughly?
And this is like 1997, 96. I was about to graduate high school. Yeah, a long time ago. Carlos Machado moved to Texas, right? Before jiu-jitsu before anybody really knew what it was, like the Gracies had came to California, and the only one was Carlos, and he decided to go to Dallas, Texas. So we started training jiu-jitsu. And it was really cool because Travis Luter was there, not even a black belt yet.
Wow.
Clay Pittman, James Brown, Lovato was there already.
The hardest working man in jiu-jitsu, James Brown.
Yeah, exactly. His name's James Brown. He's a dentist. He's phenomenal. He's a very good guy. He never competed or anything. You know, he was just one of the beginning of American jiu-jitsu, you know, especially in Texas. Like what Travis Luter and those guys were like, they were there, you know, training.
What were those classes like so early on? Because I feel like now you can walk into an academy, there's upper belts, like you can kind of, a newer student can kind of get, you know, into the system with everybody. But back then, around a bunch of newbies, what were those classes like?
Man, you never knew what you were going to learn. It was different from day to day, you know? Like one day the back, next day pass, one day choke. I think it was just kind of what you were thinking for the day, you know, like, oh, I don't want to teach this today. Like, I think that only really started a couple, like that kind of class structure where there's a curriculum. To be honest, I think, man, I got to give the credit Gracie Baja. I think Gracie Baja really created that class structure, you know, and they came up with this formula, and then a lot of people after that started to be like, oh, I have all this information. Let's create a curriculum. So jiu-jitsu today now is based off of a curriculum, you know, and everybody has it written down and they know what they're going to teach for probably a month at a time. And it's definitely more professional, you know, as we all know, hopefully, as anything, it evolves, right? But back then, it still wasn't so big in America. It was more just based off feeling. So that's kind of how the classes were. But the judo classes were not. It was, you know, you came in, you bowed, you stood, you had to do your uchikomis for an hour, and then you had a little bit of randori at the end. You know, it was. I wish I would have stayed. To be honest, if I'm really talking serious, I wish I would have ventured off into jiu-jitsu. I wish I would have stayed in judo because still to this day, the discipline and the form of judo is very. I don't even know how to say the word I'm looking for. It's just
Like
the art
rigorous.
form of judo is so beautiful. You know, it's like to get a person who doesn't want to get thrown and you can throw them with technical abilities and, you know, your technique, it's flawless. If you get the right timing, you get the right kazushi, the throw happens itself, you know. To try to master that is very, very difficult, you know, like very, very, very difficult. So it's hard. It's so judo is so much more difficult than jiu-jitsu.
You're an instructor now. You own your own academy out in California. Is this rigor, is this structure something that you try to recreate in your school?
Yes, I think everybody would tell you that I'm pretty like OCD and I have everything down like every single day, you know, and how we're going to do it and how it needs to be done. And I really like the discipline of judo and how everybody kind of has the same standard. Everybody does the same thing. And it's a camaraderie too, you know. It's like I really want people to have that, you know, no cell phones, don't disrespect, respect everybody, white to black, doesn't matter, you know. It's just have respect for every single person. And instead of having groups, you know, a lot of academies have groups, right? You have the competitors who stick to themselves because that's what they need to do to discuss their positions and this and that. And then you have the hobby guys who, you know, they form their clique, and then you have the other guys who form. Meraki is what we truly try to form, and I think I've done a good job so far. Is it's one overall group, so everybody is in it together, right? So it's like it is together. It's not separate. Every person is the same as if you're a world champion or you're the white belt. You're the same, right? You're a student. You're at the academy. You're here for the same reason everybody else is. Whether you choose to take a career path in jiu-jitsu or you take a path of, man, this is really good mentally and physically, and I really enjoy the camaraderie. It's the same path, really. It's just your mental focus is slightly different, right? But everybody has their path in jiu-jitsu, and it's every student and people behind you to support whatever path that is, right? Like, you know.
So you have all your students on this same path. Everybody's learning together. Everybody's working together. Do you find that that kind of keeps everybody on the same page, and it kind of keeps the politics of everybody down, and it kind of keeps like, because that is something that happens at other academies is people pull rank and people, you know, start doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, you know, I do. Obviously, there's rules, right? There's rules that have been passed down from generations and generations, and I like to keep that because it's tradition, right? And without all those people and that created that, you know, like the Gracies, obviously, and then the down cycle to everybody, they formed this academy etiquette. So I have the etiquette in the gym, and I really try to focus on that. Obviously, when you're on the mat, respect your upper belt. Right? That's the rules. If you're a white belt, respect the blue respects the purple. But there's a way about respecting rather than downgrading. Respecting is not downgrading, right? Like you can help him and say, hey, you know, I'm a purple belt. I've paid my dues. This is how the system works. So it's with anything, right? You create a system, and within the system, there are rules in the system. And if you create the environment where everybody is humble about the system, then it will create a good environment. If you have somebody who wants to obviously take the system and kind of play with it, then they can obviously make it a little bit more difficult for a younger or a less belt ranked person. So we really knocked that out. And the way we designed the school, I think, gives that environment. Kind of when you walk in, you already get that feeling. And from the front desk through the academy, through the instructors here, everybody's pretty chill. You know, everybody's really nice. And, you know, we have major competitors teaching. And then obviously my partner, Kenny, was one of the best fighters, you know, in MMA in my mind, you know, and to bring that mental aspect to our students, and then coming from a judo and a jiu-jitsu background and being able to share those experiences, I feel like we have a really good staff to teach the people to, hey man, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm better than you, or I'm this. Like, your journey is different, so support that guy wherever he's going. Support him, you know, like, and he will feel good, and he will grow. And you know, you don't have to be a world champion in jiu-jitsu to be good at jiu-jitsu, right? In my mind. So there's other guys who are really good, and they'll be as good as they can ever be. But if you have a world champion supporting that guy, think about when he goes to his office and he's like, man, I had a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tell me I did a really good job. I'm pretty good, right? That's what the guy's going to think. So mentally now he's excited. His life is better than it was, you know, because he has something to talk about and then show, you know, like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like, that's kind of what we want to really focus on here, you know?
It sounds amazing. You're empowering all these people on the mat to be able to excel. Do you find that having a set curriculum and kind of focusing in this way, making it a little bit more professional than it was in the 90s, do you think it helps that common man a little bit more, kind of, you know, understand the art form a little bit better?
Me personally, I would say yes, but you know, maybe I'm wrong. But in my mind, I think through consistency and repetition is education, right? And again, I didn't come up with this. This was all passed down to me from experiences. So from my experiences, I feel like the more consistent you are at something, your brain will start to memorize it. And it's consistency. So every day you're focusing on something, your brain will take a little bit of that. And then once you understand a little bit, then it kind of helps understand all of it. So having a curriculum that you can follow, you can prepare yourself for, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be studying this. So mentally you can prepare yourself to understand, okay, I did this yesterday, and it still gives you that ability to, I'll give an example, if that's okay.
Please.
Let's say today we're passing the guard, right? And at the end of class, or the positions before the training, you're just starting to understand, like, oh, okay, my body's working, my hands, my head, everything's working finally, right? Because it takes some time to understand the position. So you feel really confident at the end of class, like, man, I'm starting to get it. Next day you come to class, your mind is thinking, oh man, I wanna perfect what I had learned. But you change the position to now you're in the closed guard. Well, you have to change your whole brain and try to relearn something, but you're still not 100% on what you learned the day before. Rather, at the end of class, you're starting to feel confident. Next day, little more confident, little more confident, little more confident. And before you're like, oh, I'm understanding what I'm trying to do. Then you can be creative, and then you can start to expand the techniques, and then it becomes jiu-jitsu, right? That's why we try to teach more concepts rather than positions. So a concept can be open-ended, and if you teach a concept, people can interpret that many different ways, and it can fit their body type, their mind, their hands, and and for me, again, it's just my personal opinion. I feel like it's better for them.
I would totally agree. And now that we're starting to talk a little bit, and you mentioned some guard passing, I'd like to touch on the products that you shot with us. For BJJ Fanatics, people right now can go into the show notes and find links for these. But you have 2 guard passing instructionals with us. The first one is Everyday Half Guard Destruction by Jason Hunt. The second one is Geometrical Open Guard Passing. Can you tell me really quickly what's the basic difference between those two?
The one is more like if you get caught in inside daily heave or half guard, right? It's very focused for that particular position, right?
And that's everyday half guard destruction.
Everyday half guard destruction was very one-dimensional. This is what we're going to focus on. The second DVD it's more kind of going backwards, right? Because I'm not very good at this, so I was trying, and it was my first time shooting a DVD, and truth be told, it was really funny. My knee locked up like 2 positions in. My knee had locked. So I was like, yeah. So I just had surgery, and it was crazy, but I was really nervous. Truth be told, I was scared to death to do a DVD because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. But it's all based off of body positioning, So the first one was entering the inside de la Hiva and half guard, how to control it, how to defend it, and change directions with it. The second one went a step back with how to enter into the guards, right? With leg weaving, hand pummeling, to understanding the geometry movement of passing the guard, right? The system. So it's kind of like introducing the system. So, and the system was created by Hamon, Hamon Limas created the system, and I feel like we have just since evolved it. And then I just shot a new one, defending to, I can't even think, sorry.
Do you mind if I ask you real quick?
Offensive.
What is it again?
It's defensive to offensive passing.
And that'll be coming out shortly, but if I could circle back for one moment, something that really interested me here. When we talk about the geometrical open guard passing, what does geometry have to do with guard passing? Can you give me an example or kind of explain that concept a little bit more?
Yeah, it's my crazy mind possibly, but I look at passing the guard as geometry. You have round, square, triangular, right? So it's the fundamentals of objects. So a lot of times you need to go circular to move through the guard. So that would be going side to side, right, in circular motions.
Like a Toriano maybe or something.
Exactly, very Toriano, right? Then once you get to a Toriano, you need to get to a spot, and you need to create a wall, which would be like weight and being heavy with distribution. You got to create square. Your shoulders square to the direction that you want to go so that your base is solid, right? So that would be square. Like, oh, I need to get to a square position to create pressure.
So maybe like a double under or something.
Double under could be square, or even whenever they hook, you get your grips and you close your elbows in, you're very square to always having your angles going in towards the body so that you're heavy and the person has to carry your weight. You would be square, And then a lot of times you need to cut through, like knee slicing and long stepping is very triangular because you are at a larger base at the feet, and then you got to cut through the hips to get to the head, right? Or through the knee line to get. So that would be more of a triangular kind of movement. So that's what I base it off of.
And you mentioned, I think that's fascinating, by the way. And I want to keep asking questions, but I know that you dig into this in the series, so I don't want to give away too much for free. But I think even just that concept is, my mind is really spinning on that. You said that you developed a lot of this with Romulo Barral. Can you tell me a little about that?
Well, Romulo's passing is obviously Romulo just kills everybody he fights. So it's like whatever he does, he just runs right through.
One of the best ever. Love him.
Yeah. But the system came more from Ramon Lemos, you know. So the whole passing system came from Rio Claro. I lived in a really small city in Brazil in Rio Claro, where there was a lot of really at the time it was the headquarters of where Rafa and Gui Mendes, Gilbert Burns, Bruno Frasato, Carlos Sanz, Guto Campos, Denilson.
Like late 2000s, 2010.
This is 2009.
Sick.
And very, very small, probably 700 square foot academy. And so I was the only person in there who wasn't a world champion. That kind of narrows that down. So I was definitely the worst person in the academy, which is kind of scary, you know, just knowing that you're the worst. But the way that we did the positions was based off of a system, and Ramon had created a system, and the way we drilled it and the way we thought about it and the way we dissect it, it really put the whole concept in my mind to open up to, oh man, this is geometry. Like this is, you know, and everybody has their little, how they can describe the system, you know, but to make sense for me that I'm able to share it for others is I can relate to it with geometry, round, square, triangle. That's why the logo of our gym is round, square, triangle. So
that's amazing. I absolutely love that. And just real quick, something I wanted to talk about a second ago when you brought him up. You own the gym, Maracay Jiu-Jitsu, and Kenny Florian, one of the best fighters ever. How'd you get mixed up with Kenny Florian?
Man, we would always train at nighttime together. So I was with Ramon, and we were at Anderson Silva's camp, right? For the first time he was going to fight Chael Sonnen. We were in his camp, and Ramon was coaching, and I was just a jiu-jitsu training partner with him. And I met Kenny then whenever we were at a press conference, and Kenny had moved to Los Angeles, you know, and he was here. He didn't have a gym, you know, he was really focusing on commentating, you know, and he was changing his career path. And at Sean Williams' gym, he would always go and train at Sean's, which, you know, Sean's amazing. He's another amazing person to learn under too. You know, it's being able to train with him really also helped me open my mind. You know, he's done a lot for me as well. So we would go there at night and train. And one day we were sitting in the parking lot after training, and it was like, man, I wish we had our own gym, you know, that we both live here. And yeah, and this is kind of what I'd like to do. And yeah, that would be great. And man, no shit. Sorry for my language. Like,
totally fine.
2 weeks later, we're signing a lease.
Man, I love it. 90-day fiance style.
It was just like, and then it was like, oh, well, we're in it now, so let's go. And so yeah, you know, being around Kenny too, it's mentally being around Kenny is something that it's you can't change, because you know, you're around a lot of fighting. You know, Gilbert Burns, a very, very dear friend of mine, is fighting for the title. But being from that whole like watching Gilbert now in the height of his career, where his mind is, and then you see like being around Kenny, who's been there, who's fought for the title, he's retired, he's analyzing fights, the way his mind is, you know, like just being around him to talk to him and help, it's mind blowing, because he's very, very intelligent. He's been in the worst fights, you know, he's been had people punching him. So just having that is like, hey man, don't worry about this. You know, you don't need to worry about this too much. You know, maybe change your mindset to this and to that. It really helps, you know, and also for our students, right? A lot of people think it's jiu-jitsu for MMA. Kenny's been in there. He's fought in the ring, so he can answer questions about, does this work in a self-defense situation? Because clearly he had to defend himself, you know, where I never fought MMA or anything. So, you know, whenever it thinks about self-defense, I have my mind and I could give an educated guess about it, but it's good that we have more sport, and then Kenny can really touch base on self-defense and distancing and striking with jiu-jitsu. Man, I don't know any of that stuff. I just know how to 2 points, pass, 3 points, you know, like it's different. You know what I'm saying? So it's nice to have that. We have so much variation in the gym that people and students can kind of ask questions about. Hey, Kenny, what's it like when somebody's throwing a kick at your head and you need to take them down, you know, or Jay, if it grabs you, how do you throw a guy? Yeah, so it's great. You know, it's nice to have all of these different mentalities in one gym. Then you have Isaac Dordelin, you know, who's a very good competitor right now, who's doing a lot of things, creating stuff. He has his perspective on things, and it's like, man, it's great. It's just great, you know.
I've seen Kenny fight. I saw him do an IBJJF match once. His gi jiu-jitsu is actually pretty legit, isn't it?
Man, Kenny has very good jiu-jitsu. You got to think, man, he was training. You know, he was one of the original Americans who lived in Brazil at the Gracie Barra headquarters, and he was training with Master Carlos. And man, Kenny was competing again whenever I was doing just for fun and hanging around training jiu-jitsu. Kenny was already in Brazil competing and stuff, you know, like before it got really big, he competed in Brazil. We didn't even know about competition in Brazil until 2007, really, when the Worlds came to America, and all of a sudden we were competing good in high schools and stuff, and, you know, things were easy and good, and we were winning stuff, and all of a sudden, man, what did that guy do? What is that? And we fought the Worlds, you know, and it was a totally different environment whenever you would see some of the guys from Brazil that we had never seen. It was just like, wow.
I believe it. So you talked about you get brought down to this room. You're the only guy there who's not a world champion. Gilbert Burns, Mendez is so on and so forth. What brought you there in the first place? You know, who said we need to make sure we include Jason Hunt?
Man, it's really nice, actually. So that's a whole new other story. In 2007, fought the Worlds. Leo Vieira had stayed, and he had opened academy in California. And if you remember, the people who stayed with him were Lucas Leite, Arif Farias, Hafengi Mendez. Mm-hmm. So we were at a tournament, like a best of the West, and Leo was there, and then he was promoting his academy. So me and my friend Jared, a guy named Jared, also an amazing jiu-jitsu fighter at the time, was what we thought. We went to take a private with Leo. And, man, it was mind-blowing. It was one of the best, still to this day, it was one of the best privates I ever did, and I think that's what really opened my mind to what jiu-jitsu is. To really kind of, man, I don't know jiu-jitsu. And at the time, I didn't know jiu-jitsu. I thought I knew, but I had no idea.
You remember really
good? Man, he gave me 2 tennis balls. And he said, okay, you're going to learn to move with tennis balls. Can't grab. You need to learn how to move your hips. You need to learn how to move your body without holding. Because at the time, I would get grips and hold for dear life. And, you know, I had no mobility. I was stiff as a board. I thought, like, you had to power through stuff, or, you know, like, it just different mentality. Mm-hmm. So he asked me what I want to learn, and I didn't know. So we started training, and like 2 seconds in, he was like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And he gave me these tennis balls and showed me that you need to move your body. That's how jiu-jitsu is movement. And, man, it stuck with me forever. So Lucas Leite had stayed behind to teach class for Leo at Leo's academy. So, man, I would drive every day 2 hours to go train with Lucas Leite. And at the time, Lucas didn't have a lot of training partners because it was just him who stayed, and Hafa and Guy and Ari. But then eventually, you know, they went back home to Brazil. I stayed training with Lucas. It was great. Marcelo Zotto was around. Lapella was around. He was, you know, coming. So it was cool. You're really understanding a different level of, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then Andre Galvão had came, and he was training for his MMA career. Like, he had just had his first fight right after 2008 Worlds, you know, and he fought here in Santa Monica. And I would pick him up every day, and I would take him to Lucas. So me and Andre formed a really close relationship. And then I was able to take privates with Andre every day, you know. So now I'm training with Lucas, and I'm training with Andre every day, right? And it's like, it's mind-blowing. He was shooting his book too, you know, like he was just doing drill to win. So anyway, Ramon had came to America for the Worlds that year, 2009. Ramon had came over He stayed. Andre was training for an MMA fight, and Ramon was coaching him.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, everybody was leaving what then was Checkmat. So Ramon and Andre were like, oh, we're going to start our own team, Atos. So I was kind of like, okay, that's great. And again, I didn't really, I don't really know any better at this time. So I'm like, great. Andre said, Jason and Ramon. I spent a lot of time with Ramon because we were helping Andre for his, I wasn't helping. I was basically there just being the water boy. But Andre was training for his fight and Ramon was there. So I would get to train with Ramon now every day in the gi. And phenomenal. Like, it was mind-blowing. Again, it was something that I'd never experienced. Well, Andre said, Jason, you got to move to Brazil because we don't have any place to train. There's nowhere to train in America. Like, if you want to stay with Ramon or me and train with us, then you have to move to Brazil. So I moved to Brazil. And I was lucky enough that I got to live with Ramon. So I got to stay every day with Ramon. And for me, Ramon is probably the best coach in all jiu-jitsu. If you think about all the multiple world champions that came from Ramon, and the success of everybody that was in that room, that small room, has become very successful, whether it's an academy or multiple-time world champion and academy. That room it was very progressive. What a lot of people are doing today was being done in that room prior to what jiu-jitsu is today. We were working and going over that stuff every day for years, and then now I feel like what people are really focusing on, leg drags, long steps, that really kind of came from that room, like it was talked about and dissected, and it was that room was very, very special. Like, it was that experience. If you talk to anybody that was in there, everybody will have the same, like, man, very small room. The trainings were insane. We did 3 trainings a day, Monday through Friday. Ramon was there coaching and talking and changing. And then after every training, everybody would sit together and discuss positions. So it was never just like one person. It was a whole group of people that are very, very skilled discussing positions and helping each other to every single person become a world champion. That was the goal, like, to really push everybody. And so that's how it started. That's how I was able to live with Ramon. And through that, I think I learned how to become a coach, how to teach. Like, I took on what he would teach me every day and we would talk about every day. And obviously I was a little bit older at the time. I was older than everyone, and I wasn't going to be a world champion at the black belt at my age. And I knew it. And especially seeing the guys, like, what it's like to train, and you can see it is, I understand jiu-jitsu very well. And my career path would be better coaching, like sharing these positions and knowledge and understanding of movement, especially from competing in judo and jiu-jitsu. I have a little bit more of an open mind on competing. So I kind of wanted to be like Ramon at that time. I was like, you know what, I don't really want to focus on myself competing. I'd rather get guys who are really good, and I'm going to share them what we did in this room and how the mentality was. And so that's where I feel like today that's been my biggest, I've been able to help a couple of world champions. And I feel like I gave a lot for them, and they're done very successful, Edwin and Gabriel, I was helping coaching them since they were blue belts, and being around Romulo. Whenever we left Brazil, we came and, we left the team, and then ended up, Romulo gave me a really good opportunity in 2011 to teach in his academy. And, we had a little bit of a falling out for a while with me and Andre and Gilbert. Me and Gilbert had left the team, and Gilbert went to MMA, and it was like, I don't know what to do. And Romulo gave me a job, so I started teaching in his academy from day one. I was the original instructor with Romulo. And being around Romulo, and his mind is different than anybody's mind. And that guy is as laser focused as anybody you can ever imagine with, as far as a work ethic. If you say do 50, Romulo's going to do 100, just because, not for any other reason. And heaven forbid you challenge him. Romulo, I can do 101. well, I'll do 150 to your 101. Like that's Romulo's mentality. It's like, and Romulo really shared that mentality with Edwin and Gabriel and the guys from like his mind is like Travis Stevens, right? If you think of a judo fighter who's got a mind that is unbreakable, it's Travis Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
You think of a jiu-jitsu fighter who is like, it's laser focused, won't miss a training, no matter what, it's Romulo Barral. Like, he will not miss, he will not stop, he will not say no. It's always, I will do another one. I will do another one. I will do another one.
Romulo, yeah, he's one of my favorite of all time. And I always say from being around Bernardo, it's easy to tell why he was so successful if you just be around the guy for a little while. And it sounds like Romulo is pretty similar in that way. And it shows. Look at the guy's will to win. I've seen the guy's foot point 270 degrees the wrong way.
Yeah.
Fine. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm fine. Let's go. Let's go. Same with Bernardo. You know, being around Bernardo is the same. You know, Bernardo now is taking the same laser focus to BJJ Fanatics. That's why BJJ Fanatics, I feel, has gone really well, because you can't take that mindset from any of those people. You know, the success of of Bernardo and Romulo, and it's just nonstop. They don't know how to turn it off. You know, Romulo has a family now. Bernardo has a family. Andre has a family. Hoff and Guy have a family. Gilbert. All these people have things to take away from the sport now, but they still, that switch is just, I'm going to train. I'm not going to stop. Whatever you do with that mentality, I feel, you're going to be successful, because you take the same focus and you just generate it into, if you're going to make a cup of coffee, it's like, I'm not just going to make a cup of coffee. I'm going to make the best coffee you could possibly make with all my passion and energy in it. You know, and I feel like that's what separates them from most. It's like, no matter what, if I'm going to tie my shoes, I'm going to tie my shoes like it's going to be fast, perfect, and I'm going to win, you know? So it's special.
They really are. Two guys that you mentioned, guys that you've worked with a lot, apparently since they were blue belts. Gabriel Arges, multiple-time world champion. Edwin Najmi, one of my favorite guys. I love the heck out of Edwin. How early into their jiu-jitsu career do you feel like you could look at those guys and feel like the sky was going to be the limit for them?
The first time I trained with Gabriel, the very first time Gabriel came from Brazil, I trained with him, and he'll tell you, I looked right at him, I said, Gabriel, you will be a black belt world champion. Talking about Gabriel just knows how to make the game slow, but it's very fast. And Gabriel's a technician. He is a technician. He is just as smooth as can be, very flexible, very focused on his technique, you know, and you just watched him grow, you know, and grow and grow. And he got his black belt. He just went from 10 to 12, you know, it was just like, zoom. And luckily, you know, we were there to spend a lot of times on passing. You know, I worked more of my passing with them, because that's kind of what I have zero guard. If it's like I have what you call the freeway guard, just come in and come through, you know. I'm not a big guard player. My guard is designed to get back to my feet so that I can go on top. So like that's my I don't play guard, but
very Edwin style of you still.
Yeah, I want to come on top, you know. I just want to be on top. I want to throw you and stay on top. But Gabriel was just he was always studying. He was always like mentally there, you know, obviously training a lot with Philippe before he came to America. And then when he was there, he stuck like glue to Romulo. Romulo gave him that, like, you need to train like this, you need to eat like this, you need to focus like this, and it worked, right? So that was being with Gabriel. And Gabriel was very open to asking a lot of questions. You know, he doesn't have an ego of like, you know, like I like when Gabriel come, hey Jay, I'm working on this, could you help me? And trust me that I know jiu-jitsu enough that I can kind of be like, oh, this is good, maybe adjust this and adjust that, and it was good. But he was just, you know, he's a special individual. He's going to be multiple-time world champion. Then there's Edwin.
You probably taught him the flying triangle, right? Was that you?
No. Romulo taught him. At the end of the day, 2007, Romulo Barral did the nicest fake Kouchi to flying triangle. Look it up. It's online. 2007. Romulo was the first guy to do a beautiful flying triangle. And it's there. He faked the kochi. The guy put his hand down to defend the takedown. Romulo's in the air. So if anybody can take credit for teaching Edwin the flying triangle, I have to say it's Romulo Barral. Was the original. Romulo was the original.
That makes sense.
But Edwin was special from day one. Like, Edwin was 15 years old, white belt in the academy, didn't care, was sitting around just being Edwin, right? But he's just, the lights turn on, Edwin's on, you know? It's like that. Edwin is just, there will only be one Edwin. Edwin doesn't have to train for a week, month. He's going to come in and he's going to smile, he's going to laugh, he's going to play, and he's probably going to submit you if you don't respect him. Like, that's the thing about Edwin. It's like he has talent that, and the way he trains, you know, like he trains and fights the exact same way. It's like a game. He smiles, he has fun, he doesn't take it serious, he doesn't let pressure get to him. He truly just has a good time training. Like, man, there'd be times he would be training with Romulo, and I think he didn't even think in his head that, man, that's Romulo. And he'd be singing a song in his head. And Romulo's like, oh, man, I'm going to kill you. Like, that's Edwin, though, you know? It's like he just knows how to have fun with it. And he's like, man, I think I'm going to try this in a competition. Like, and he's not afraid of losing, so he does it. You know what I'm saying? Where a lot of people may be a little nervous, like, ooh, I could make a mistake here. Edwin's like, man, I'm going to submit the guy right now. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to submit him. So the confidence of Edwin is like.
You know who I want to get him on the mat with? I want to get him on the mat with that guy, Sensei Tim Joe, to see if Sensei Tim Joe can make him really nervous like he made you.
No. Edwin would laugh at him, smile at him. Edwin would still be Edwin. He would be like, man, I'm not doing that. Edwin, because, man, I've seen Romulo. Romulo's been so mad. The maddest I've ever seen Romulo in my entire life. And I've known Romulo for a long time. I feel like we have a pretty good relationship. I've only seen Romulo get mad only at Edwin. You know?
That sounds right.
Like, I've never seen Romulo mad before, and it's only been at Edwin, and Edwin knows how to, like, really get it Romulo. But, you know, it's nice to see Edwin's success and Gabriel's success, you know, and I'll tell you, if Edwin had the same, like, but I don't know if Edwin would change Edwin, it wouldn't be Edwin anymore. What makes Edwin so special is that it's Edwin. It's Edwin Najmi, and it's him, and he's him every day. He doesn't change for anybody. He doesn't try to let people influence him to do something else. He's like, man, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. And he's very successful at it. And man, his jiu-jitsu is no joke. It's very, very good. Like,
oh yeah, I think he's one of the best guys in one of the toughest weight classes in the world. You know, you don't have to sell me twice on the guy.
Yeah.
Last couple questions here, Jason. I know you're out there in Los Angeles. I know everything that's going on. A lot of people are watching from home right now. For the people that are listening to this, you have 2 products out. What will people learn, and who are these right for? You know, are these right for, like, young athletes? Are these good for, like, older guys? Like, you know, who's
I feel like you could, if you're a competitor and you want to get a different approach with entries into passing the guard, it's good. It's been very beneficial for you because it's concepts. You can take the concept and make it your own. That's what I want to share. I just want to share a concept. I think anybody from older, younger, there's something in there that is good. Somebody will understand something, or maybe have a different mind and think, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I can take that information and I can use it with what I'm doing right now, and it will benefit me. So I don't want people to just think like, okay, I'm going to follow exactly what the DVDs, because that's not what they're for. They're there for concepts, to give you an idea and a concept to move forward and think differently when you're passing the guard. You know, like I said, the round square triangular thing, it's something that I feel works for my mind. It may not work for everybody, But if you watch it and you have that and you're open-minded, you'll think, oh, okay, I will take that and I'll add it to what I'm doing, and then I can create something myself. And now all of a sudden it has evolved into somebody else can take the information and make it their own, and then they can pass it down and pass it down. And that's what I really I want my DVDs to be that, you know, because everybody's body's different. Everybody's mind is different. It's take the DVDs and the instructionals and look at it and think, how can I make this work for my body and my mind? And hopefully there will be something that you'll be able to take from it and it will improve. You know, that's all I wanted to do, just help people improve and share it to somebody else.
Man, I love it. Jason, how can people get a hold of you on social media or anything like that?
Man, it's just J Hunt BJJ. It's, you know, it's nothing special. I wish I had a much more following than I do, but that's it. J Hunt BJJ, or you can always go to the Meraki page and you know, Meraki Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Can you spell that for people?
Yeah, MERAKI BJJ, and then my Instagram is just J Hunt BJJ.
Perfect. And like I mentioned earlier, for anybody that wants to check out Jason's series, they're really amazing. I think you guys will love them. They are linked in the show notes, so you guys can check them out there. Jason Hunt, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's great. Be safe, please.